As I said, Ian Newton on the very rapid Aprilia, quickest round here by almost a second. Gary May, Jason Vincent, the reigning champion, is in the middle of the front row. Chris Walker, the sensational newcomer, and Robert Freer. And they have a green light, and it is just 8 laps, so it's going to be a short, sharp dash down towards Old Hall Corner for the 250s. And we're looking for some established names. I saw Ian Newton looking as though he was in third place, looking for the number 4, Ian Newton. Yes, he is. On the Aprilia, number 4, Newton, the pole position man, relegated to third from the start, but out in front already and stretching away. We'll pick up the number of the race leader for you as they go into the hairpin. But first, they've got the left-hander at Island Bend. And we are expecting big things from the championship leader, Chris Walker. As you can see, the number 4 clearly, and the race leader, number 18, and it's Chris Walker. It's Chris Walker, would you believe it? Chris Walker in just his second season of national road racing, the former motocrosser, championship leader, and he won at Brands Hatch, and he's here today leading the race. Second place, Newton. In third place, it's number 65, and that's Gary May from Hungerford. He was on the front row. But Newton now into second, but just look at Chris Walker move. Roger, this is unbelievable.
Absolute flying start there from Chris Walker. I was speaking to him this morning in the paddock, and he was saying that one thing that he does feel pretty confident on is the starts. It's only his 18th road race meeting. It's only his 5th time that he's actually ridden on slick tyres. And he's riding the Paget 250cc Honda, which is a 1995 model. So he didn't even qualify for the earlier rounds of the British Championship, to be quite honest, Barry, and now he's streaking away. A quick learner and a good name to look out for the future.
Well, as I said, 8 years of motocross experience, and that's endemic in the way that he handles the bike. He moves about a tremendous amount on the bike. The race leader, number 18, third place, number 65, Gary May. Then it's number 3, Steve Salford. There's Salford in the distinctive blue and yellow livery of the family business. Salford, number 3, Gary May, number 65. Salford's just been relegated. He's slipped down. So Salford has lost that place. Number 7 has gone up there. That's Greg Ramsey. Greg Ramsey has moved up past Steve Salford. 7 then Greg Ramsey. Salford is number 3. Number 1 is Jason Vincent, the reigning champion, and it's frantic stuff. All the 250s, and there's a faller there on the grass, harmlessly off, walking away in disgust, and the marshals moving in to clear the debris. 45, the faller, out of the way. Scott Stevenson from Liversedge, and his race is over just after 2 laps. Chris Walker, number 18. Right with him, though, Ian Newton. Now, Newton he won at Donington.
That was just a straightforward slide. He obviously lost the front end. The right-hand side of the tyre wasn't probably warm enough, and he just slid down. But this is the battle for the lead, and it's Chris Walker from Ian Newton. Ian Newton's a very experienced rider, riding the 1995 Aprilia. He is a particular expert around this Oulton Park Grand Prix circuit. He loves it. He lives very close to here, and that is the fastest lap, 1:37.9, and that is pretty close to the lap record. So doing everything he possibly can to try and regain or recapture the lead from Chris Walker. That won't be easy, but experience, I do believe, will prevail.
Yeah, the lap record, 1:37.82, so he is just 800ths of a second, and Chris Walker, the rear end sliding there, but the motocross experience, he detected that very early. Ian Newton, number 4, will have seen the bike move as he went into Fulstons there, and he'll be ready to pounce. Newton was he's only ridden in 2 of these National Cup 250cc races in the 1995 series. He was 3rd at Oulton Park in the first round, and he won at Donington, and is lying 7th in the championship. But he confessed to me earlier on today that he's not that bothered about this series. He's got his eyes set on much bigger things, and it's the number 4 Aprilia rider I'm talking about, such as European Championships and maybe even bigger. Into the lead he goes, down through the gearbox, and no, Chris Walker is having none of it. He just shuts Ian Newton out, rides round the outside, and still the 23-year-old Walker, riding number 18, has the lead.
But not for long, because Newton now slips through up the inside into Old Hall Corner. Says to Chris Walker, this is the way to do it. And Chris Walker now is looking at the rear end of a 1995 Aprilia in the way of Ian Newton. Down through Cascades, and Walker's on the grass up the... well, incredible. I'm nearly speechless there, because he did very well to control the machine, and obviously his motocross experience helped him quite considerably there. But all joking aside, Chris Walker, his second season of road racing, as I said, the 5th time that he's ridden on slick tyres, he's doing an outstanding job, and he would be best advised to settle for second place in this race and gain some vital experience.
Walker leading the championship on 45 points. This is the battle behind. There's Greg Ramsey, number 7. Greg Ramsey moving well through in 3rd place now, having gone past Gary May. So Ramsey, number 7, in 3rd. And there's Jason Vincent, number 1, going past Gary May again up into 4th place. So the reigning champion from Earl Shilton in Leicestershire is now in 4th place. Ramsey's 3rd. Vincent, number 1, is 4th. Gary May, number 65, is 5th. Then it's Steve Salford, number 3, in 6th place. And they are all head down, tail up, and the number 32 there running is Robert Freer, who was the 5th fastest qualifier. He is in 7th, number 32, Robert Freer. Freer in 10th place in the championship with the best result of 4th at Donington, so he is another rapidly improving youngster. But now this activity centering around 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th place, as race leader Ian Newton now leads Chris Walker by a respectable margin. Greg Ramsey now also well in 3rd. The battle appears to be about 4th, 5th and 6th.
It certainly is, and Gary May looks to be heading that battle from Jason Vincent. Jason Vincent now, it wasn't so long ago we were talking about him as a newcomer and up-and-coming young guy, but riding with a wealth of experience, and Mark Chapman there was parking his bike, so obviously some machine problems experienced by him. But this is what it's all about. You can see the field has got slightly spread out now. Gary May heading this battle. Back to Ian Newton in the lead as he goes to Knickerbrook. Chris Walker not really being shaken off. Probably that gap is something like 2 seconds, and Walker losing something like 0.2 or 0.3 of a second per lap to this man Ian Newton. But as I say, you can't possibly ride in your second season of road racing at this level and be as good as Chris Walker without having an awful lot of natural talent.
Well, as they came over the line at over half distance, and they're on lap 5, the gap between Ian Newton and number 18 Chris Walker, the second place man, was 1.83 seconds. I fully expect that to have closed. Yes, it has. 1.61 it is. So Chris Walker is now winding in Ian Newton. Now, whether it's a question of Newton having settled for the lead and is just easing off a little bit, I don't know. But Ramsey, number 7, there's the race leader. Off comes a rip-off. The Perspex film across Ian Newton's visor is torn off with the left hand, thrown away. He now has a clear window, and Chris Walker is closing again. So the 23-year-old Chris Walker, former motocrosser with 8 years motocross experience, a motor mechanic by trade, the 1994 Clubman's champion, also aiming for a wild card ride in the 250cc British Grand Prix at Oulton Park, is making sensational progress through his second season, and equally sensational progress in this race in pursuit of number 4, Ian Newton, the race leader.
You can see the gap there. This is the 3rd place man. 3rd place man is Ramsey. 4th is Jason Vincent, and that's the current reigning 250cc British champion. And he looks like he's being caught by Gary May, so he's going to have to get a move on. And that is the race leader, Ian Newton. Mr. Immaculate Ian Newton. Immaculate in his presentation, immaculate in his riding. riding with a wealth of experience, not young by any means. He's the wrong side of 30 these days, which he won't mind me for saying. And that's Steve Salford on bike number 3, having quite a good ride, but by his standards, probably a ride that he would have been expecting to have been a little bit nearer the front. So they've come through now, having completed 6 laps, out on their penultimate lap.
There's Jason Vincent, number 1, still in 4th place. There's the race leader, Ian Newton, backed in a big way by Aprilia UK, and he's on that 1995 Aprilia. He won, as I say, the round of this competition at Donington. He also won the European Championship round the same day at Donington. And, as I said, has his sights set on bigger things. He sees this National Cup Championship as really a proving ground for the young up-and-coming riders, such as the man who is clawing down that lead, now down to 1.24 seconds. So Chris Walker is indeed winding in the race leader, and we'll be getting the message from his pit board that that's the case. Greg Ramsey, number 7, in 3rd. Jason Vincent, number 1. Then it's Gary May. Then it's Steve Salford from Tempsford in Bedfordshire, number 3. Steve Salford, former Supercup champion, who has suffered a lot of seizure problems on his machine this year. There's Salford having a look at the inside line through Gary May, and Robert Freer, number 32, is right with him. There is Jason Vincent, Gary May, number 65. Salford having to work very hard, but he's a little bit concerned. And if you watch Salford, he has his left hand continually on the clutch lever, because he's by no means convinced that the bike's not going to seize up and pitch him into the grass. If he can get the clutch in time, then of course he won't fall off. But if it does seize, it happens very, very quickly indeed. Race leader Ian Newton looking over the shoulder. That gap now has opened up again to 1.83, so Newton responded that time, and Roger, he's got this firmly under control.
Well, we always believed that he had. He set the pole position time with ease. He came within 0.03 of a second of breaking the lap record on about the 2nd or 3rd lap, and he's done just enough to put Chris Walker in his place and say, well, you might be doing well, Sonny, but you're not quite there yet, and this is how to do it. So Chris Walker, a perfect race in 2nd place. He's learnt a lot, and again, that's what it's all about, he's learning. But Ian Newton, Mr. Immaculate, really an outstanding performance, Barry.
Well, the weather's been very kind to the riders here at Oulton Park. There is still a good breeze, which might just affect them on some of the more open parts of the circuit, such as the drop down towards Knickerbrook, where they're approaching on these 250s something in the region of 135 miles an hour. But having said that, 8 laps is a short race. Ian Newton, number 4, has acquitted himself beautifully in the race, and he is now heading for victory, and the checkered flag is out. Newton takes another win. He will go home tomorrow, £500 to the good, and 15 points towards his championship. But having said that, he is currently in 6th place in the championship. It'll be interesting to see what that's done. But there's your race winner, number 4, Ian Newton, but a very good 2nd place for Chris Walker, number 18. Pole position said it all for Ian Newton, a very good win. A valiant 2nd place, however, for Chris Walker. Greg Ramsey, Jason Vincent, Steve Salford, and the 5th fastest qualifier, Robert Freer, came in 6th. The championship, though, still Walker's.